I'm trying to turn my life into a video game-like interaction. The way that I can go through and do all my tasks like I would in a video game. And as such, I'm slowly developing a system that I can use both for myself, but also turn into something that you guys can use in your own lives as well. That leverages aspects like gamification and different psychological tricks that help us actually do the work we want to do while making it feel like it is play still. For context, like I have mentioned in my previous videos, basically I'm choosing to take a step back from my career, going, okay, this is going in a direction that could be successful, but is it the direction that I actually want? Being able to take a step back completely from everything and go, I am okay with starting again, so let me start at the fundamentals and move forward with that mentality. And as such, I'm going to use the knowledge I've gained in that to start developing the tools and systems that I would want going forward and see if I can make a living off of my passions. My passions being things like psychology, building tools, and just making artistic interpretations of things that I want that help scratch the curiosity that I have with life. So that's going to be in all different forms. But to start off with, I'm making this system so that I can actually really start cracking down on the type of life I really want to work with and how to implement that so it is a seamless and fun experience every day. So if you saw my previous video, you would have seen that I've started developing the quest line system. Basically, it is an interface that's taking my to-do list and trackers and turning it into an interface that is very easy and goes, hey, here is your next task, here is your main quest, here's your sub-quests. All these different aspects that feel like a video game interface. But after making that video, I did take some time to do some further study and realized that there was an aspect to it that felt lifeless. There was this element of gamification, yes. I was using the techniques that I would when developing a video game, but I realized as well that it wasn't using any of the psychological aspects that really make an enjoyable game enjoyable. Because there are many different aspects that exist in games that make them enjoyable. I'm sure you've played a game or two where it feels soulless, where it feels like there is nothing going on other than the addiction of doing this certain thing. And that's not what I want in life. I want it to be enjoyable. I want it to be like a video game, and as such, I decided to do some more further study. So in doing some research, I found a book by Yukai Chao, and I've probably screwed that up, so I apologize in the way that I pronounced that. But in which he has a system called the Octalysis framework, in which he outlines 8 core principles that help define what make a really good gamification effective, in which there are different aspects like white hat versus black hat, which is different reasons, but at the base level, the 8 different principles. The first one is epic meaning and calling. This is that idea that when we're working on something, we have a greater purpose that we're moving towards. When we're playing a game, you have the big bad at the end that for some reason you are the only person who can defeat. That is that greater purpose. You have a meaning that is greater than yourself. And in life, if we have that, if we can figure out a way to gamify it so that we have that overarching purpose and core belief that we are meant to do this thing, we find ourselves much more motivated to do said task, even through the hard times. The second is development and accomplishment. This is things like your leveling up system, the ones where you earn experience and you level up and you become stronger. So being able to show that we have a progress in what we're doing. Be able to go, hey, I am better than I was yesterday. And by having that, we had this extra motivation to go, no, I am improving, I am doing better, I just need to keep with it. The third being empowerment of creativity and feedback. This is that freedom that allows people to do things their own way. You may be versing a boss. You look at some of the modern games like Elden Ring, where there is many ways that you could potentially do it, but there are some people who play that game and it astounds me how they're not wearing any armor and they have nothing but a single weapon. That's not the most intended way of doing it, but it is become this way of people playing it because it's the way that they enjoy it. It has that creative freedom, and you see the feedback that it gets them because they're doing something that a heavily armored character can't do. They're moving quickly, they have that nimble aspect. And being able to create that sort of system where it does give the freedom back to the user, going, hey, I can do this in my own way, I can be creative with this, and you get feedback in relation to what you're doing. Is it working, is it not? The fact that you are getting the feedback though is very important because there's nothing worse than doing something, finding out that there's no interaction, and then going, well, I've just wasted my time. The fourth is then ownership and possession. The idea that you have something that you actually are connected to and feel like is yours when playing a game. This is usually your character. This is the character creator scene, the avatar that you end up making. You feel like that is you, that is your character in this world, and being able to customize them with the armor and weapons and cosmetics that you create over time. And being able to capture that in a system is going to be interesting. The next pillar is social influence and relatedness. This is basically getting that community aspect. You do the things that others are doing because you want to be like them, you want to be part of their crew, they're part of their group. But being able to do that in a way that isn't sort of just overwhelming is going to be an interesting balance, because I don't want my system personally to be, hey, here's everybody doing this. I'd rather try and keep it so there is just 2 or 3 people that actually have a meaningful impact on you, and being able to implement that in a way that actually gives value and doesn't just detract from that idea of like, oh, well, there's so many people, why do I matter? The next one is scarcity and impatience, and this is something that is very common in most of our world. The idea that if something is more rare and harder to get, we are more likely to fight to get it. You look at a lot of the hype brands and you see that they made 120 of this one shoe and people go crazy for it. Whereas you can go to, Target or Big W and find that there is a single shoe that is $2 and kind of does the same job. It goes on your foot. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole reason as to why they're different, but the idea there is that when we're playing games, we get items of like legendary value and they're much more valuable. And trying to create a system where that is also not something that is the focus. It's not that idea of like, I need to grind to get this one thing. Again, people have the freedom to do that, going back to the whole creativity, but being able to implement a way that does have this aspect of people wanting to come back and use this system, but not feel like they're being used by the system. The next one is unpredictability and curiosity. The idea that we don't know what's going to happen once we do a certain thing. If we do this attack, are we going to do more damage? Are we going to do less damage? You look at stuff like the gambling industry and they're based around this. The idea that the slots, when you pull them, give off these different ideas and you're not sure if you're going to win until you don't or you do. You don't know that outcome, but you keep fighting for that one win. You keep fighting for that aspect. So trying to implement this in your game, the idea that every time we do something, there could be this extra reward, this could be this extra aspect that could be unlocked, but you do need luck to be on your side in that regard sometimes. Being able to create that where it feels like a bonus and not a core aspect that you're missing out on because you're not winning is going to be the balance for that though. I need to figure out a way where it does feel like I have that opportunity to do more, but it doesn't break down if I don't get it. And finally, we have loss and avoidance. The idea that we could be losing something. We are fighting to keep something to us. You look at stuff like health in games. The idea that if you keep getting hit and you keep doing bad, well, you're gonna die and you have to restart. So being able to implement an aspect like that where it is something to fight for, something to keep, the idea that we will rather keep something and not lose it than to never gain it. It's this weird psychological aspect. If I were to give you $1, then you will rather keep that dollar than spend another. But if I asked you to spend $1, you are going to fight tooth and nail to never use that dollar because it is yours. Going back to that whole ownership aspect as well. So is there some sort of loss and avoidance aspect that we can keep in this system that doesn't stop the person from playing, but gives them that motivation to go, oh, if I don't do this, my character will die, and having that sort of aspect in the game. So you can see that after I looked at all of these, I looked at just the simple task system that I had, realizing, oh, this isn't a game, this is a feature of a game. I need to continue developing a system that actually feels like it is the program that I want. The idea that I can have all these aspects, that I can develop these different elements that utilize this system and use those 8 core principles to help motivate the person using it to continue coming back and using that in the benefit of the goals that we're actually working towards. How can we turn our life into a video game? And as such, I've outlined a core couple things that I'm going to be working through the next couple of weeks and documenting the whole journey as part of this small series so that you can follow along. So if you haven't already, feel free to press subscribe to see all the videos as they come out. But going forward, there are going to be a couple different videos that are based around a different topic each. And so to give an overview, I'm going to look at my notes because I can't remember everything I need to do. And that's why I have these systems. So the couple of things I'm going to be working towards is 1, defining that greater meaning. What is going to be that overarching purpose that we find in using this that keeps us coming back because we know we're part of something greater. We're part of a collective that is working towards something. Figuring out the meaning of that. The second is then going to be stuff like the user avatars, giving the user that freedom and creativity to build their own character, to have that ownership of who they are in this system. Change the way they look, change the armor they're wearing. I'm not sure how it's going to be implemented yet, but again, it is something that I want to find important. The next is stuff like the experience system so that we can level up, we can make progress and track what we're doing. There's something to be said about the small aspects, like, oh, if you're a writer, write 1,000 words a day and see that ticker track up as you write those words. But I also want them to be like a smaller macro, like the words getting tracked each day, but also a macro to see your overall progress that you've made this whole time. So you can look back 5-10 years and go, Jesus, I've made a lot of progress. The next one after that is going to be the health system. So that loss and avoidance aspect. If you don't keep coming back and doing your work, you're going to be losing health to this enemy that's going to be there. And that brings me on to the next one, where it's actually developing the enemies that we're fighting. There is something to be said about having a tracker and go, cool, I'm making progress and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like it's as engaging as, oh, I need to do this, otherwise I'm not going to be killing this enemy and they're going to be killing me. And having that ongoing fight. Now, sure, I do need to figure out a balance where it is also going to be not overwhelming, like, oh, you miss one day, you're dead, and you start again. Having it so that there is this ongoing sort of, okay, you can have a bad day, but you need to get back on the horse and keep going, because that's the motivation that I know I will need. Other things are like creating just a simple sequence so it actually is like starting up your character. So you're not just thrown into the overwhelming interaction of this system, but having a step-by-step guide, like a tutorial, that helps you set up your character and the motivations and the goals you're working towards. And then once you've done that, it's up and running. And then things just like having a testing program. Admittedly, I realize that I'm probably going to turn this into some sort of digital product down the road. But before I do that, I want to have it so it's testing with a variety of people. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description, which is giving you a quick sign up to give an idea of when it's actually going to be released. And as part of that, there is going to be a testing phase where I'm sharing it with people that have actually clicked on that link and signed up so that they can get it for free access in an early stage, test it out and see what they think, see what they would like improved, give feedback, and then from there we can build a better product. So if you want to get it early and without a price tag, then absolutely sign up down below in that description. So as part of this whole journey, I know that it is a case of stepping back from my life and starting again from scratch. Because when I'm looking at this, I could have stopped with that last video. I could have gone, hey, here's the system I'm using, because it does work, but it doesn't work to the degree that I want it to. I want this to be a product that I am proud of and something that I will use going forward day after day. And in also having a comfort that other people can use this for their benefit. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be a huge hit, if it's going to be a giant flop. But the fact is, I do have that mentality of if you're going to do something, do it right the first time. So I'm taking that step back going, what I had was cool, it wasn't enough. And as such, I'm going to be documenting the journey of making it enough, at least by my regard and hopefully by yours as well. So once again, if you've followed along this whole point, then absolutely thank you, because this is very much a passion thing. I could be going back to what I was doing before, but I want to spend time actively trying to see if this works out, making a living off of my passions and sharing it with you guys, so hopefully you guys can get a benefit from what I'm doing as well. So if that sounds like you, once again, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you next time when we're actually going to start working on that greater purpose of what we're going to be doing.